What about the turnbuckle whip? That was always something where there had to be a little suspension of disbelief. I'm standing, 20 feet or 25 feet away. I grab your arm and push you, and it propels you at full speed into the turnbuckle.
That's Bret Hart could take a fucking turnbuckle.
Oh, yeah.
He could take that front turnbuckle.
Yes.
I mean, you could use that as a heat spot. Bret was so fucking God. I mean, it used to amaze me how fucking hard he could take that fucking turnbuckle. And there's a lot of guys like that. Most guys had to always take it where they did the dive and you'd move out of the way and they'd go between the second and third and hit the post.
Mm-hmm.
But Bret could just fucking run straight into that motherfucker, and shit. It sounded like it felt like the ring moved.
Yeah.
But man, it was so fucking loud.
Yeah. It was awesome. I
By
want to
far-
say he's the
by
only
far-
one I've
he-
seen
he-
take it like that.
He by far. And then that he'd always that he would sell it so great because it was like wham, and it was like he'd always let the crowd register what had happened because it was loud,
Mm-hmm.
and then he would just fucking make that face and then he would just crumble down. I mean, he was so. That's why I loved working with him because he got it. He would. I remember one time he said to me, we were going over. He says, "Do you mind if I give you a backbreaker?" I said, "If you can give it to me."
Mm.
And he fucking picked my ass up and gave me a backbreaker. I didn't help him. You can't help somebody,
Right.
Like his shit he'd give you a backbreaker. I mean, he'd do this and he'd roll right into a fucking Russian leg sweep, I mean, everything he had shit, man. Like Bret didn't shot me. Bret threw a good fucking punch.
He did throw a good punch, didn't he?
Fuck yeah. And then a lot of those fucking the Kliq used to call Bret's punch the rubber mallet. That motherfucker, man, it hit you like it didn't. It wasn't a hammer, but it's a rubber mallet, man. It was when the fucking red light was on, man. Bret wasn't afraid to. And I mean, you watch me and Bret. I'm waffling Bret as hard as I can hit him in the back, and he's fucking waffling. It's just, I don't know, man.
But okay, so Bret would certainly take that turnbuckle perfectly.
Yeah.
The excellence of execution, right? Perfect, great speed. But he was whipped in by Rene Goulet, right? So this is the part I'm talking about. Is the move itself? We suspend disbelief, right? But if you remove that and you look at some things, you go, wait a minute. Our discussion starts with a chop, and I think the whip into the turn, unless it's Big Show or you or Andre,
but I think
throwing Bret into the corner.
And that's the psychology of it.
Should be.
I would always tell people all the time. I was like a boss in a video game, so I had like my lifeline was like this. So you had to whittle me down, where if I fucking caught you with a flipper, then caught you with a shot behind the head, then caught you with another flipper, and you were 220 pounds, you flat back.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were in trouble,
Right.
Whereas, and see, that's, I think Bret worked the same way. Bret wouldn't take that turnbuckle. Bret would take a normal turnbuckle. He wouldn't take that front one. He'd take a normal back turnbuckle against somebody his size, and then as the person came in to do something, Bret would get a leg up, or get a foot up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
it was like, and that's the whole thing. The psychology of the business is dictated by who your opponent is. It was our match was so simple because,